On today's episode of Locked On Avalanche, started off a little bit slow, but it picked up as the game went on. The Avs escape Calgary with a very important win, but we're all looking forward to Sunday. Let's talk about this game first. New episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in, making this your first listen of the day. Always appreciate it. If you want to get in on the conversation, join our subtext. Link is in the show notes below. Chat with Kyle and I one-on-one. We get your opinion, everything Avalanche related, and we share it on this very podcast. We'll do that a little bit later. We get subtext crew thoughts on this game over the Flames. Yes, we'll touch on the Sunday game against Stars briefly towards the end as well. And I also want to say, if you're watching on YouTube, this was not planned.
Nope.
Right here. Not at all. We don't discuss wardrobe before we start. We're not like that. So, you know.
That's good vibes. That's good vibes. Good signs, good vibes.
Yeah. Hive minds right here. So, let's jump into this game, sir. Avs win it 4-2. Like I said, it's all games are important. And, you get 2 points. You pretty much solidify your standing right now in the Central. That's where you want to be. And yes, I said, like, you're now, with Dallas losing, you have a chance to catch them. I know they have games in hand. We'll get to all of that. But for this, what did you think of this game? I thought it was a good game. Thought it was a fun game, but it took a little bit while for me to get there because I thought the first was just like a slog. And it like not much really going on. And then it just, like, as the game went on, it seemed like everybody just got their legs or just saw the importance of, we're playing a hockey game and we both need the points. And things started happening more as the game went on. Maybe a little bit later for Calgary. They didn't really start picking it up till the third, where the Avs really kind of got in the mode in the second. And that really kind of carried them to a 4-2 win.
Yeah, and it felt weird, like the initial first period. It was a slow start, and I don't know if it had something to do with ice conditions because everybody was falling and just things were like puck, like the passes just felt like they were overcompensating for ice conditions, and they came in like passes were just too strong and like in feet and in the wrong spot, and those feather touches just weren't there. And I think as more the game went on, especially into that second, everybody kind of figured out what, the tempo and the mood and where we're catching our edges. And you saw that really start building in the second. And the third, like the score looks runaway. The empty net definitely helped. But Calgary did push, but the Avs pushed back. And that's what I take as the major win. Those speak louder to me, honestly. Right now, you're not doing much in the term of standings, but I'm looking for the little cues when it comes to a team mentality. And top to bottom, like, this team is pushing back and they're not giving up like they used to. And that speaks loudly for me.
Yeah, that was a big staple of the 2022 team of, bouncing back within the game. And if you had a lead and you gave up a couple goals, whether you gave up the lead or they came back to get down by one or they came back to tie it, that team had just the uncanny ability to not let any of that affect them, play their game and come out on top. And, it's early with this new team since the trade deadline, but you like what you're seeing in that battling back because yes, Calgary, it was all Calgary in the third. And it's like they finally woke up and just started fighting. They had, I think, 10 shots on goal after 2 periods, and that's with 8 in the second. So they only had 2 in the first. That's what I'm saying. The first was just a lot of back and forth. The Avs had 7 shots on goal in the first. And you did get that Ryan Lindgren grade. Lindgren goal. Say that 10 times fast.
Will not.
Yeah. The Ryan goal. We'll just call it that.
Yeah.
and that was a very nice goal, just a laser shot from the blue line. But outside of that, it was just no real flow to the game in the first, and you held Calgary to 2 shots on goal. The 8 that they got in the second didn't really seem like anything was like high danger. So defensively, I thought this was a good game for the Avs, with the exception of transitions and zone exits, because you turn the puck over a ton, trying to get it out of the zone, or if we're carrying it out of the defensive zone, trying to get into the neutral zone, you would throw a bad pass, it get picked off. Calgary was doing a good job getting sticks in the lane, especially in the neutral zone. They were disrupting a lot. That was the one thing Calgary was kind of doing to keep them in the game, was their defensive pressure. When the Avs kind of figured that out, you saw improvement in the second for them, but for Calgary, they just couldn't get anything going. So from a defensive standpoint, when Calgary is making like a charge, I thought the Avalanche played a very, very good defensive game.
Yeah, and going back to that Ryan Lindgren goal, hey, look at me.
There you go. Good job.
It felt reminiscent of like 2017, 2018, like EJ goals, like Tyson Barrie EJ goals, like that blue line, just pinball. You didn't really have like much of net front, like even though you had some traffic up front, it just felt like an old school Avalanche goal. And I agree with you, the passes, and like even Parker Kelly, like unselfishly giving up that hat trick at the end, it wasn't there. So like that carried all the way through to the third, and you expect that to probably improve. I'm curious, like we're recording like right after the game. I'm curious if like you get some sound bites on the ice condition, because they looked very just disjointed, more than normal. Like passing has not been the strongest for the Avs this year, and just with the amount of trips and falls and the weird tone to the passes, I wonder if it had something to do with that, but it carried all the way through the game. So I'd like to see that, especially rolling into that game that we're going to be talking about later. You'd like to see that improve, and especially going into the playoffs. But again, new team, weird circumstances, Saddle Dome, and the weird lighting they have there. It's like they have half the lights on. Yeah, it was an okay, and hey, they survived with all of that. And the altitude jinx about Wedgwood has to let up a goal in 151 minutes, and then not even a minute and a half later, Wedgwood lets up.
Yeah. And we can talk about him because he, again, was great. I guess Blackwood was a little bit under the weather, which is why he didn't play. But there you go, Kyle. Like, okay,
sure.
Blackwood doesn't feel well. He's not 100%. Let's put the guy in who is 100% and have as much confidence that we can win this game as if Mackenzie Blackwood's in goal. There you go. You have not had it. We go back to this all the time. And that's another move that McFarland made that is just paying off in spades right now.
Yeah.
Because, if you had the tandem that you had earlier in the year, and you had to do this, you wouldn't feel that good about it. But the other part is you didn't really feel good about either one of those guys. You completely make the change, and now here you are. You have to, and it's not even a question. You just go into the game. You don't change your mindset. You don't change your game plan or your style at all, because you're confident in what Scott Wedgwood can do back there, and he had another great game.
Yeah, and you mentioned the goalie tandem they had starting this year. It didn't, like, they would get starts mid-game. You would pull the other goalie, and you'd have to put in the other one. And now, if, like, Mackenzie, like, if you have somebody coughing, just like, hey, are you not feeling the greatest? That's fine. We got you. It's like you could really play around with who's pulling the duty tonight, and you feel equally just you don't have to worry about hot hand. When did you play last? Do you need another start? You don't have to do all this conditioning and coddling like you had to with Georgie and Juice. Like you could just plug and play and you're good to go. And this is one of the most underrated. I think at the end of the year, this might be one of the more underrated storylines and moves when it comes to this team, because I think deeper as it goes, you're going to be talking about the forwards and the defense. But this goalie tandem is just so underrated in the league right now.
It's fantastic. And I saw an article. It might have been on it was either on the Athletic or on the Score. It might have been the Athletic. I'll go double check where it was, where they rank the goalie tandems, and they had the Avs at 10th, and I don't agree with that. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not saying the guys above them are doing poorly, but maybe we'll talk about that. Maybe on sometime next week. I'll bring up that article, and just bring up. They were at 10, and maybe it's because I didn't read the full thing yet. Maybe it's because like they haven't been in Colorado the full season where they ding them a little bit. Which okay, all right, but
Fine.
And this is the one time where I'm going to be biased because I think these two are just playing exceptionally well since they came over here.
Yeah, I think they're top tier. Like, name me another tandem.
I think they had Winnipeg at number 1. And
Come on.
that's so heavily like on Hellebuck, who plays 80% of their games anyway. So
it's like saying the Gretzky brothers have the most points in the NHL.
Yeah.
I always hate that stat. I'm like, come on.
That's a funny stat. So all right, let's get a break in here, and then we come back. The Parker Kelly and the depth guys, you could say, are the ones that won this game for the Avs. So let's focus on them and kind of some individual players. We'll do that next. Let's hear from FanDuel. Kyle's one of his favorite times of the year, March, especially when Auburn is playing well. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. And right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories, and even who is cutting down the nets. Is that this Sunday the pick, or is that next Sunday?
I think it might. Well, I think it might be next Sunday because
is it
Auburn's the SEC quarterfinal tournament. Like, this is magical time. They just beat Ole Miss, so
yeah, did they? Okay, well, whenever it is, I look forward to it. So, so visit FanDuel.com right now. Get those $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel.com. Get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. All right, so great game from the Avalanche depth, and part of why you did kind of like this, I should say like a wholesale change, is to solidify your depth because you absolutely need that for every game, and especially in the postseason. And if you get this from this bottom 6 crew into the postseason, you're gonna feel good and you're gonna win games, because the top guys didn't really have their best night. I thought this was one of the quietest games Nathan MacKinnon has had all season long. You're on the defensive end, you had those guys moving around. Makar was all over the place. I thought Taves had a good game. But you didn't have Malinsky in there. So again, they're kind of mixing and matching with your defensive pairings. Eric Johnson was in there. We have to hear about Manson. Josh Manson got injured at some point. I don't know when it was. I don't know if it was a hit.
I think he came back.
They said he didn't come out on the bench to start the third. Oh. And then right before Calgary scored their first goal, literally Mosier's in the process of saying like, we just got word and they scored. He went back and revisited it and saying that Manson is not coming back. He's got an upper body injury. So I think he did. I think you're right, because he didn't play a lot of shifts in the second either.
No.
So maybe it was one of those things where he got hurt, went out, tried to give it a go, and then after the second intermission just could not. So we'll have to see what's going on with that. Hopefully that is not long term, whatever it is. I didn't see anything like egregious that say like, oh, that could hurt him, but I don't know. That's that. But getting back to like who was playing, defensively, we kind of touched on that. But for the forwards, I think your top guys, while they didn't play poor, they were not really the ones creating a lot of the chances. That was your depth guys. And you saw it with Parker Kelly with the 2 goals, could have had a hat trick twice. Kiviranta, I thought, had another good game, didn't get another goal, which would have been his 6th in 6 games. But your depth guys were really in charge of this game. This was awesome to watch.
You know what's incredible? I want to give it another bonus, a Statty Von Doom stat of the night.
Do it.
Parker Kelly was flirting with a hat trick twice and only played 13 minutes of hockey.
Not bad. Not bad.
I could honestly, for the past week and a half between Parker Kelly and Kiviranta, they've probably been the hotter players on the team. like the depth has been just not just shining, but outshining members of the established core. And like Cale Makar in front of his own parents played poorly and just ghostly. But it's nice that you have a deep enough team where that's not a problem. Like you're getting these guys stepping up, and it's refreshing to see.
And you could tell Bednar was trying to get something going with the top lines, because he moved McKinnon down to the second line with Nichushkin and Drouin, and that's really like a first line. That's a gluttony of riches when you're moving Nathan McKinnon down to a second line to play with Drouin and Nichushkin. So he moved Nelson up, and I think maybe that was to see, just maneuvering things around. And I think it worked for a little bit, at least for Nathan McKinnon. He had a little bit more open ice. There was one play where they had a really nice charge. They're moving around nice. I think it was Nichushkin had a nice drop back pass from him. He had a nice shot on goal, but it was just one of those nights where it wasn't really clicking for your top lines. So this is kind of, we saw it twice in one game, Kyle. It was with the goalies, because you had to put in Scott Wedgwood, and it's your depth guys saying like, hey, our top guys are not having, I don't want to say they had a bad night. Again, they didn't have a bad night. It was just, Calgary did a good job of making it difficult for them. So what did our depth guys do? Say, okay, let's us be the ones who step up. And they did. Mm-hmm. They really did. It was almost like you felt like they were out there more than the top guys, because they were visible more. They were able to do more than your top guys were. So you keep that going, and good things are going to happen.
Yeah, because not only is your depth performing, but they're holding long shifts. Mm-hmm. They're making good passes. They're not compromising the team. They're not making bad decisions. It's a good thing that you can win without Nathan McKinnon, because you're going to need it. If you're playing the Avalanche, number one thing you're going to do, shut down Nathan McKinnon, shut down Cale Makar. Then once you kind of cancel out those lines, what do? That's how you win the Stanley Cup these days. That's how teams are built. That's how Florida and Vegas were built. And now the Avalanche are starting to replicate that kind of depth. And you're starting to see that benefit and pay off. And you're still not utilizing Miles Wood. You still have VC for these matchups. So you can eliminate those top two. You can put Brock Nelson on that top line and have Avalanche fans losing their mind that Nathan McKinnon's down on the second line, and you're still producing, and you're still looking good, and you're still the better team on and off the ice.
Well, look at where the biggest goal came from. And that was the second Parker Kelly goal.
Yep.
Because Calgary was getting in a zone, and they were buzzing, and the Avs were chasing, and everything was going the way of Calgary. And then here comes the Avs, who they weren't getting much going for a few minutes. It was all Calgary. All Colorado was doing was just clearing the zone and getting fresh bodies out there, and Calgary would go right in the offensive attack again. But for the one moment, the Avs got something going behind the net, and Parker Kelly's there in front of the net, and it's a greasy goal that those are the momentum crushers. Mm-hmm. And that's what you rely on your top guys to do all the time. Take the power back, basically. And again, your depth guys were doing it. That goal can't speak volumes of how big that goal was, because everything was going the way of Calgary. So that line of Kiviranta, Coyle, and Ross Colton, their Corsi for was 15. Their Corsi against was 7. And for Fenwick, when you remove the block shots, it was 10 for and 2 against. So that line was fantastic. That line is coming together very nicely. And for McKinnon, no, let's see, the McKinnon, when he went to the Drouin Nichushkin line, it helped. They were 9-4-7 against, because when he was on his normal line with Lehkonen and Nashis, he was 6-4-7 against. So they were a little bit upside down on that. That's not normal for that team. And credit Jared Bednar for seeing that and just making a little adjustment. And you can drop Nathan McKinnon. That's not a demotion. that's the best demotion in the NHL, when you drop someone to a second line and they get to play with those two guys.
And another thing, another added little wrinkle, going back to the depth. is Calgary tried to get chippy and tried to get, a little extra after the whistle and tried to continue and the Avalanche didn't cave or buckle.
Mhm.
They all believe that they can do and this is also, it's funny that we're wearing matching shirts. It's reminiscent of the 2022 mentality of we'll do our talking on the scoreboard. And like this team's starting to feel it. Like you don't have that depth trying to make a name or find their place by being physical and being that guy to take up for. Like they're not caving to that. You can do that. That's fine. The Avs will just look at you, not take penalties, nothing come out of it. They get back to it and they score. Like that is a winning playoff mentality. And to see the Avs take it in a game that honestly you could have got away with it. You could have been chippy.
Yeah.
And they didn't cave into that. That speaks a lot to where this game is going.
I think this is a good a good game to watch to see what this Avs team, when it's not their best night, they can still put up 4 goals and make life difficult for you.
Yep.
So it's scary to see like, hey, like they're winning games and you're still in this zone of like, gelling and figuring things out, which needs to end quickly because you only have 16, 17 games left in the season. And I think it will. But the fact that you're winning these games goes back to what Jared Bednar said. They're a tough team now. They are a difficult team to plan against and to really kind of get over on for a full 60 minutes. So they're a good team, great team, top to bottom. And I think you saw, like I said, when it's it's kind of, I don't want to say it's an off night, but they weren't their best. They will still get the best of you. That's got to make you feel good.
Because they're doing the little things and staying disciplined.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Yep. All right, let's get to our subtext people. And of course, we got a sound check that we got to get to. We'll do that next. We are going to hear from, let me get it. So there they go. Monarch Money. If you ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, buying hockey jerseys, it's easy to lose track. And that's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center, and you can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Best thing about it, all in one convenience. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track your spending, and even plan long-term goals. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off of your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. The code is LOCKEDONNHL, and you get half off of your first year just like that. Go check them out today. Okay, let's check in with our subtext crew, and then we have a sound check that we're going to get to. Craig says the Flames seem to be locked into playoff hockey mode. Glad the Avs were able to take the win on that one. Bummed that Parker Kelly couldn't get the hat trick. I just hope Josh Manson isn't hurt too bad. Yeah, the Parker Kelly, the one where he went for the pass, which got him, unselfish there, and the other one just went right off the knob of Wolf. Things like that, it's like, how does the universe line up that perfectly where this little disc of vulcanized rubber can just bounce off the tiny little button at the top of a goalie stick in perfect harmony, and it bounces up? Like, stuff like that is just amazing to me. I couldn't believe that didn't go in.
Let it go ahead and happen in the regular season. It'll pay back off and come the other way in the playoffs.
Yeah. He's right about the same. Well, he says like the Flames are locked into playoff hockey mode. The Flames have scored the least points or goals in the league. So when we were talking about, like the turnovers and stuff like that for the Avalanche, you do that against any other team and they might make you pay for it. You lucked out a little bit because Calgary struggles to score. So, but
you got. Yeah, they're in a touch of survival mode too.
for the Avs.
Oh no, the Flames. So you're getting a really scrappy team that's trying
I see
to.
what you're saying. Yes. Okay.
Like they might be locked into playoff mode, but that's how they're surviving. So
Yeah.
the Avs really didn't, like you said, they didn't play their best, and they still won.
Yeah.
So that tells you the difference in the two teams and where they're at.
So survival, because the Avs were in survival mode a couple times in this game for sure. So you see what Calgary can do. They were cycling and had really good offensive possessions. They just can't put the puck in the net, and that's going to be their doom come playoffs. So Cody, not their best game, but big depth scoring, pulled through. Not sure what Nelson did to get attacked by the Flames like that, though. I don't think, was that like that little scrum like behind the net that he's talking about? I'm assuming. Like, I think that's just
he just looks too much like an action figure, and they couldn't deal with it.
Wedgwood is great in net again tonight, and hopefully Manson is fine. Yes, we're all throwing our thoughts out to Josh Manson. Madam Battleaxe said, wow, much needed boost in confidence and points. Parker Kelly had a great night. So happy with our goalie situation. What a difference a trade makes. And her sound check is hella good, by no doubt.
That's a great jam. Great album.
Which one is that off? Is that off
that's the one yellow. What's the name of it? I know I can see the album cover.
Get the album cover? Okay. That's not their first one, though, right? That's not the Tragic Kingdom one? Okay.
No.
All right. Lisa, Parker Kelly had himself a night, so close to the Hattie. Great to see depth scoring from him and Lindgren. Good game overall. Excited for Sunday. You know that. Absolutely. We're going to talk about that in a second. Kyle, not you. Sound check. Put Out the Fire by Queen. Dominant first period and a half. And then we allowed way too many odd man chances. I guess if you want to say it was a dominant first period in that you didn't give anything up, sure. But, and we didn't even mention that penalty shot that Cale Makar took. And didn't for some reason, but penalty shots are not going the way of the Avalanche right now, because the last game and that one, not the best. So let's not do it.
Yeah, don't give the Avs any kind of advantages, please.
Mm-hmm. A couple more here. We got Landon, third great defensive game in a row. I love it so much. It's so great to see just bad puck luck. It's amazing to see depth scoring, and the first line playing under 20 minutes is most impressive. Sucks Makar, McKinnon, and Nishas haven't scored points yet. Nathan McKinnon was 1957 for time on ice. That's a vacation. That is a vacation for him. So he is rested for Sunday.
Hey, I'm not complaining. As long as you're winning, I don't care.
Yep. And finally, Ethan says Kivi's hard work has made him one of my favorite players. His first goal, fighting in the to the net front. We need him to play like that in the postseason. 100%.
Yeah, I'm becoming. I'm becoming a pretty big Kiviranta fan.
Yeah, all those guys doing what they're doing in the regular season, and that's great. Applaud that. You still have what hasn't happened yet, and that's the postseason. So whatever you're doing in the regular season, if you don't do that in the postseason, we're having different conversations about it.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's touch on Sunday quickly. What do we think? I mean, the Stars lost to Winnipeg.
Boo-hoo.
I think it was 4-1 in that game. So yes, they still have games on the Avs, but if the Avs win this thing in regulation, they are a point behind them as far as points go. So that's what you want to be right there. Yes. And because it's just coming down to home ice advantage at this point. And that's fine. But what are we expecting? I think this is maybe the most anticipated regular season game of the year across the board. You got the Mikko situation. It's just Dallas and Avalanche in general still fighting for, playoff positioning and seeding. This is going to be a fun one.
Duchesne still exists.
That too.
And the infamous Godfather style Saturday night dinner that Landy's going to be having, allegedly.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things on the line. I'm very curious what the tempo is going to be. And honestly, the score, whatever, like second and third, it's not keeping me up at night. I'm really watching the game within the game, and I'm really watching emotions and attitudes and execution and discipline in these kind of games, because this is an advanced preview for the playoffs.
100%.
Like the results really don't affect me. I'm scouting for the playoffs. So that's honestly what the Avs should be doing as well.
We shall see. I can't wait for this one. And with that, because my sound check is kind of playing off of this. So let's get to that, wrap this thing up. And this is our Locked On Avalanche sound check, where Kyle and I pick a song that summarizes the most recent game that we put on a playlist over on Spotify. You can search and follow along with it. Just search for LOA Soundcheck. Volume number 4 is what these songs are going on. What do you got for this game?
This one, especially the physicality, just honestly the posturing, the depth that you often forget about. Going a little Soul Asylum.
Ooh, okay.
And doing Somebody to Shove.
I love that song. That's just a really good song.
And I just like, honestly,
like,
you don't ever really have games where you give guys like Parker Kelly and Lindgren like getting the tempo going for the Avs. Wedgwood, the backup, like these are the guys that like aren't leading Avalanche talk, and they get there. And Calgary tried to be chippy, so Somebody to Shove.
I love
Full
it.
Asylum. This is that game.
And that kind of goes into the next game, because you're going to want somebody to shove in that game too.
Oh, I got some songs in the hopper waiting to go.
Well, and that where I went with this is, got Calgary out of the way. We won that game. Some people want to say that's a trap game. Fine, feel free, because you are looking ahead to Sunday. As went and got the win, and now you're going up against a division rival. Incredible game. So many storylines behind this, and that's why I'm kind of like putting this song on the playlist as like a preemptive like call to any of the Avalanche fans going to Ball Arena on Sunday. And that's why I'm going with Anthrax and Public Enemy. Bring the noise. Turn it up.
Yeah, boy.
Bring the noise. That's just, the place is going to be going crazy, absolutely crazy. And if I was DJing, that'd be like my opening puck drop song right there, because that just gets the people going.
God, that's one of those songs that like blend my worlds. I love that song so much. Good. It is so good.
Great, one of the great crossover songs. So, quickly, does Mikko get booed?
Oh, he better.
I think it's going to be a mixture. I do. I don't think it's going to be. I don't think either one is going to drown out the other. I think you'll hear the cheers and you'll hear the boos. And I've said I'm not the booing type. I just, maybe when I was like 10 years old I booed, but I don't do it anymore. I think this is the one. If you want to cheer for this one, go ahead. As if to say, this is your first time back in Denver, and this is my way of saying thank you for what you did here, because you did a ton while you were here. But this is the one and only time, and then after that, you can do whatever you want to do. But I think I don't know. He deserves to be thanked. But you have 8 years to do what you do to him, like you do to Matt Duchene. And I don't know if it should go to that level, but I don't know, man. I'm on both sides of the fence, but I think that's when I think you're gonna get 50-50 split.
And it's like each day that goes by, it gets a little stinkier and a little nastier. And by the way, Carolina's on a 6-game winning streak.
Hey, now.
So I mean,
stop the presses.
So the Avs improve, and now the Canes improve. Interesting. Nothing to see here.
All right. So definitely watch that on Sunday, and then we will absolutely be recording after that game is finalized. So tune in on Monday for that episode. For this one, though, thank you for making it your first listen of the day. That is always appreciated. He's Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I am a Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast, where you are 24 hours closer of Sidney Crosby being in Colorado Avalanche colors.
No, you're not.